I was cataloging 18th century land grants when my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Miss Hartwell? This is Catherine Morris from the New England Heritage Preservation Society. We're calling about the Hartwell estate on Beacon Hill. We understand you're selling. I set down the colonial deed I'd been examining. I'm not selling anything. Oh. He sounded confused. Your uncle, Thomas Hartwell, contacted us 3 weeks ago. He said the family voted to sell the historic property to fund estate taxes. We have buyers ready to close. Preservation architects who want to restore the original 1789 features. They've already hired contractors. The Hartwell estate. The brick mansion my great-great-great-grandfather built in 1789. The house that had been in our family for 7 generations. The house I'd inherited solely from my grandmother 2 years ago when I turned 30. The house my Uncle Thomas had been trying to claim ownership of since the day the will was read. Miss Morris, I'm the sole owner of that property. My uncle has no authority to sell it. Silence. Then, he presented himself as the estate executor. He had historical documentation, family records, a deed showing shared ownership among multiple Hartwell descendants. That deed is fake. I have the actual title from the Suffolk County Registry. The property is mine alone. My grandmother left it to me specifically. Miss Hartwell, if this is accurate, we have a serious problem. The buyers have already paid $75,000 in earnest money. They've scheduled restoration work to begin next month. Where did the earnest money go? To the account Thomas Hartwell provided. He said it was the estate management fund. It's probably his personal account. Ms. Morris, my uncle just committed fraud. I'm contacting my attorney and the police. I hung up and pulled up the county property records on my laptop. The Hartwell Estate, 447 Beacon Street, Boston. Owner, Elizabeth Grace Hartwell. Sole owner since March 2024 per the probate settlement. No other names. No shared ownership. Just me. I called my probate attorney, James Crawford, who'd handled my grandmother's estate. James Thomas is selling the Beacon Hill house. He told the Heritage Preservation Society he's the executor and that the family voted to sell. Elizabeth, your grandmother's will was crystal clear. You inherited the property solely. Thomas contested it and lost. The probate court ruled definitively. He's claiming shared family ownership. He collected $75,000 in earnest money from preservation buyers. James swore quietly. That's fraud. Estate fraud, potentially wire fraud if money crossed state lines. Elizabeth, you need to report this immediately. Already planning to. But James, how did he get fake ownership documents that fooled a preservation society? He's been collecting family papers for years. Claims he's writing a family history. He probably fabricated documents using historical letterhead, old signatures. It's sophisticated fraud. I thought about Thomas's obsession with family genealogy. His insistence that the estate should be shared among all Hartwells. His fury when grandmother's will left everything to me. His access to centuries of family documents he'd been preserving. I'm calling the police, I said. The detective assigned to my case was a woman named Sarah Kim who specialized in financial fraud. Miss Hartwell, walk me through the property history. I explained the inheritance. Grandmother's explicit will leaving the estate to me. The probate court ruling. Thomas's failed contest. His ongoing claims that the property should be family-owned. And now he's sold it to preservation buyers? He's trying to. They paid $75,000 earnest money based on fake ownership documents he provided. Detective Kim was quiet for a moment. This Heritage Preservation Society, they're legitimate? Very. They work with the National Trust. The buyers are respected preservation architects. So your uncle targeted people who would pay premium prices for historical properties and wouldn't question family estate documentation. Exactly. Ms. Hartwell, I need to see all property records, the probate ruling, and any communications with your uncle about the estate. This is likely real estate fraud, but if he's been planning this since the probate contest, we might be looking at a longer pattern. He was right. When Detective Kim pulled Thomas's financial records, we found he'd been selling family heirlooms for 3 years. Antiques he claimed were part of the shared estate. Historical documents he said the family had voted to liquidate. All items that legally belonged to me as the estate's sole heir. He'd made over $200,000 selling my inheritance while claiming he was preserving family history. The Heritage Preservation Society called back 2 days later. Catherine Morris sounded shaken. Ms. Hartwell, we've completed our due diligence. The deed Thomas provided was fabricated using 1920s-era paper and copied signatures from historical family letters. It's extremely sophisticated forgery. How much was the house listed for? $3.2 million. The buyers were prepared to pay premium for the historical significance and restoration opportunity. And Thomas was going to keep all of it? According to the sale agreement, yes. He claimed the proceeds would be distributed to family members after estate taxes, but there was no legal structure requiring that distribution. I thought about Thomas's vacation home in Vermont. His new BMW. The expensive restaurants he posted about on Facebook. All financed apparently by systematically defrauding me. Ms. Morris, I need you to preserve all documentation of this transaction. The police are investigating. Already done. And Ms. Hartwell? The buyers are devastated. They've dreamed of restoring a property like yours for years. If you ever do decide to sell or if you'd consider a preservation easement, they'd love to discuss it. I'm not selling. But I'll think about the easement. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning. Detective Kim called me from Thomas's house. We executed the search warrant. Ms. Hartwell, your uncle has an entire room dedicated to fabricating family documents. Old paper, period-appropriate ink, signature stamps. He's been systematically forging provenance for items from your estate and selling them. How much total? We're still cataloging, but preliminary estimates suggest over $400,000 in the past 3 years. Furniture, paintings, historical letters, even silverware. All presented as shared family property, when legally it belonged to you alone. What are the charges? Real estate fraud, wire fraud, forgery, theft, sale of stolen property. He's looking at 10 to 15 years federal prison. My father called that evening. Thomas's brother, who'd stayed carefully neutral during the probate contest. Elizabeth, the police arrested your uncle. Did you really have to involve law enforcement? This is family. Dad, he forged documents to sell my house for $3.2 million. He's been stealing and selling family heirlooms for 3 years. That's not a family dispute. That's organized fraud. He's struggling financially. He made poor choices, but prison. He made $400,000 selling my inheritance while pretending to preserve family history. Those aren't poor choices. That's systematic theft. Dad was quiet. The family is going to blame you for this. The family can blame the person who committed fraud. He hung up without saying goodbye. The extended family meeting happened the following Sunday. My father, 2 aunts, several cousins. All gathered at my Aunt Patricia's house to discuss the situation. I wasn't invited. I showed up anyway. Thomas wasn't there, he was out on bail, prohibited from contacting me. But his wife Linda spoke for him. Elizabeth is destroying this family over property that should belong to all of us. The Hartwell estate has been in our family for generations. Thomas was trying to preserve our heritage by forging documents and stealing $400,000 worth of family property? I set my laptop on the dining table and pulled up the police evidence photos. This is Thomas's forgery room. He's been fabricating historical documents for 3 years to sell items that legally belong to me. Aunt Patricia looked at the photos, her face pale. That's grandmother's escritoire. Thomas told me it was being donated to a museum. He sold it for $15,000 to a private collector, using fake provenance documents he created in this room. I clicked through more photos. The Hartwell family Bible from 1803, sold for $8,000. Portrait paintings of ancestors, sold for $22,000. Colonial-era correspondence, sold for $12,000 per letter. Everything he told you was being preserved or donated was actually being sold for his personal profit. My cousin David found his voice. The Heritage Society sale. Was that real? The buyers were real. Thomas's authority to sell was not. He collected $75,000 in earnest money by presenting forged ownership documents. Linda was crying. He was trying to help the family. The estate should have been divided. The probate court ruled on that. Grandmother left the property to me. The law is clear. Thomas chose to commit fraud instead of accepting the legal decision. You're sending him to prison. He's sending himself to prison. I'm just reporting his crimes. The trial took 4 days. Thomas's attorney tried to argue he genuinely believed the estate should be shared and had been trying to facilitate family agreement. The prosecutor presented the forgery room, the fabricated deeds, the false provenance documents, the $400,000 in proceeds from selling stolen property, the Heritage Society transaction showing premeditated fraud targeting sophisticated buyers. I testified for 90 minutes, confirmed the probate ruling, confirmed I'd never authorized any sales, confirmed Thomas had been explicitly informed he had no claim to the property. Thomas's attorney asked if I felt any compassion for my uncle's financial struggles. He wasn't struggling, I said. He was stealing. There's a difference. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Thomas got 8 years federal prison. Full restitution of $475,000 including the Heritage Society earnest money. Permanent prohibition from handling historical documents or estate property. Half the family stopped speaking to me. Said I was vindictive. For destroying an old man over family property. The other half quietly thanked me for stopping Thomas before he sold everything. I kept the Hartwell estate. Established a preservation easement with the Heritage Society to protect it for future generations. The buyers who'd been defrauded became consultants on proper historical restoration. Thomas writes from prison occasionally. Letters about family duty, shared heritage, how I've betrayed generations of Hartwells. I file them with the court records. The estate is still mine. The family history is still intact. The forgery has stopped. And the historical record, the real one, not Thomas's fabricated version, tells the truth. Some families preserve their heritage through honesty. Thomas tried to preserve his through fraud. Only one of those approaches works.